What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 2 of my EHM EA Let's Play here with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And today we have to talk about the last episode just a little bit, because I just want to say a massive thank you. The comments were so helpful. There were so many of you guys willing to lend some support, answer questions that I had, and I actually feel like I know a little bit more about what I'm doing. So, yeah, thank you for that. I guess we should talk about what happened since that last video. So last video we talked a little bit about the roster, what's going on. I followed someone's advice in scouting my own team. In Football Manager, you just know everything about your own players. In EHM, I have to scout all my own players. So hopefully at the end of this game we'll be able to look through all these players and know everything we could ever need to know about them. So that's going to be useful. However, before that, we do need to just have a look at what I did between kind of last game, or last time you saw me, and this time, and I have made a few little changes here and there. I was struggling. I feel like I got a little bit over ambitious with who I was expecting to be able to trade for, but we did manage to get one trade completed. A lot of you guys were talking about my defensive line, saying, "No, I needed someone else to start. Phaneuf, not good enough, get him out." Well, I couldn't get Phaneuf out. I've tried. I've offered him out, and I've had numerous trade offers come back to me, and I've tried to negotiate a deal which actually offers a benefit to me. Obviously, kind of getting his wages off the salary cap is, I guess, a benefit, and to move us further away, although, to be honest, we're not that near the cap anyway. But loads of you guys were like, get rid of Dion. So I've tried. I couldn't do it. It was so hard, guys. If we look at the finances, just to show you guys here, you can see that our average salary is $64.3 million. Dollars, yes, we've changed to dollars now, a year, and we have quite a lot of room because the salary cap is at 69 million, 69, but yeah, you can see that there's some decent money, but Phaneuf is on a ridiculously large proportion of our kind of salary annually for what he actually is. So I have tried to get rid of him and I couldn't. So I had to go out there and look for other players to get, and one of the players I came across was Cam Fowler, who we have got from the Ducks. A very good defensive man. I'm very excited to have him in. He's only 22, very young. He's on a pretty large salary, but at the same time it kind of warrants for how good he is. If you look at his scout report, you can see he's good for 60 points a season, offensive defensive man, first or second. I don't know if number one means first or second line potential, if it just means he should be your first or kind of second best defensive man. It might make more sense if it was like basically he can play the first line, but he's very good, and this season he's worth 60 points, so he's a good player this year for us in the NHL. So we got him in. However, it did come at a price, and that price wasn't as significant as I was worried it might be when I inquired about him. And we've lost Morgan Riley, and on the face of it that might look like we've let go one of our best young prospects, but if I just compare these two guys, you can see that Cam Fowler offers a lot more faster to us, and although Riley's good, I can't see a massive difference. And I did put this on Twitter, I did post, should I do this trade? And most people agreed that it was a pretty good deal. So you should follow me on Twitter if you want to have an input in these decisions if you disagree. But I don't know, we've lost Riley, one of our hot prospects, but we've got in Cam Fowler, who more immediately offers strength to our team and is young. I guess the big difference really is the salary of the two players, but at the same time, it's a deal that I think benefits us greatly and is going to improve our kind of first choice pairing in the defensive kind of third, and I'm happy to have him in. So in terms of how I went about trying to find players, if we just go to scouting here, I can talk a little bit about this. So I have assigned all my scouts here. So we've got 3 scouts scouting the entry draft. I've got Dave Morrison scouting next opponent. 3 scouts scouting the NHL. 3 based in the USA. So they'll find players both playing in the NHL, but also other divisions and even younger potential draft prospects. 2 scouts in Canada. I've also got 1 scout in Scandinavia, 1 in Eastern Europe, and 1 in the UK and Ireland, just because I'm hoping that we might find one good player. I mean, this guy, O'Mara, I could get him on a free. I mean, should I do that? Let me know. Comments. I could get him in. Although he wants to be a core player. He doesn't seem that bad. I don't know. Let me know. Should I go for him? Former Coventry man. But anyway, so in terms of how I've actually been going around looking for my players, obviously I set up my scouts Yes, I did that because people were like, you should set up your scouts. So we went and did that. I listened to the advice of the people. So we've done that. But in terms of actually how I've been finding a lot of my players, it was mostly just through using filters and other bits and bobs. Since then, useful people of the internet have told me that if I go to NHL, then go to Trade Center and then look at, not transactions, but if I go to availability, I can actually see players that have been made available and who are more likely to be traded away if I go for them. So I didn't know that. So we might actually have a look through this a little bit later, see if there's anyone here who could help us out. So that's one thing that I need to do. Most of my kind of searching really came from just using manual filters and then setting up attribute parameters for players to match. But I really did struggle to find players who were willing to come. There was a point where I had a deal, and I still do have this deal. Now I need to try and find the deal in progress screen. Now this is going to be a challenge. I'm wondering where it's going to be. I can probably find the news item. That's probably going to make more sense. But basically, I have been offering out Phaneuf. I believe I currently have a deal that's been delayed for a week that I could trade him away in. But I'd probably be taking a hit to begin with, if I'm honest. And it's this deal here, actually. So I proposed a trade with the Panthers to offer out Dion Phaneuf, who, as you can see here, £7 million a year. Then we've got Leipzig, who is a good young prospect, but he doesn't look incredible, really. But who knows? Maybe he could be good. And then I offered them the rights to Carter Verhey, who we have rights for. He looks good, this guy, but I don't know if he's going to be that great. And also Frederick Gauffier, who you can see here. So that's quite a lot of players to offer, including the rights to 2 younger players. I'm going to assume that I'm right in assuming that the rights to players is basically, essentially, that we have first dibs on those players if they become available. But I don't know. I don't even know what relation that has to the draft, really. And I also offered them second-round pick. And the player I'm getting in return is Dmitry Kulikov, who, I don't know, if we brought him in, him and Fowler would probably be our starting kind of defensive pair. However, one of the big issues is that neither of them has like really hard hitting and is kind of a bit of an enforcer. And I don't know how I should be looking at my defensive line. In football, you kind of have your stopper and your coverer. So your coverer is the defender with anticipation, the one who reads the game a little bit more, drops off to sweep in behind, and then you have your stopper who kind of charges at the ball and just looks for anything. Defensively in hockey, I have no idea if having Phaneuf and Fowler, because Fowler's a little bit less aggressive, doesn't hit quite as hard, and Phaneuf is actually a good pairing, or if Kulikov and Fowler would make a better match. Because the difference between Phaneuf and Kulikov is pretty vast in terms of defensive quality. Particularly the kind of the aggression, the bravery, the determination, and we'd also lose a bit of influence in the changing room in losing Phaneuf. But at the same time, Kulikov is a good 23-year-old defensive man. So let me know what you think of that deal, if I should do it, if I shouldn't. It was just one of these things where, as I mentioned, I offered out Phaneuf, and this was a deal that kind of came up as a possibility after a little bit of negotiation. But I've delayed it for a week so that I could ask you guys what you thought. Anyway, what else has been going on? Well, we've been offering out, if I show you here, I've been offering out, where are we looking? Lepul, because you guys told me that he's injury prone and that he's a bit old and that his salary is a little bit large. So I have got a few offers here to actually go through. So I've not actually seen these, but this has been what a lot of my trading has been about. Whilst I have been looking for players, I've kind of been looking at the comments to see players that you guys have suggested that I kind of offload. And then what I've done is I've looked at them and analysed them, said, yes, I should offer them out, no, I shouldn't. And there's been a few that I've tried offering out, but Lepul's one who I've had a few offers for in the past, but I've not done anything with. So what I've been doing is when an offer's come in, generally speaking, I've just gone and looked at their team to see if there's any good players who I should be looking to get. I don't know if that's the right way to be doing things. Maybe you guys can let me know. But yeah, we'll have a look through these offers. So the Arizona Coyotes have offered us David Moss, who looks pretty tragic. Anton Carlson, right? He actually looks quite good. I have a scout report. Third line potential. Okay, never mind. For Liverpool, I'm going to reject that. If we just look real quick at my tactics, you can see here that Liverpool is our second line player, so it seems a bit silly to get rid of him for a kind of potential third line player. So we'll cancel that one. The Sabres have offered me Chad Rudwedel, who's currently at Rochester. Again, he doesn't look that great. I kind of feel like I'm being mugged off with a lot of these offers where I'm being offered players that really don't offer that much to me, and it's everything for them to gain. I know I can counter offer, but it feels like every time I counter offer, they just kind of go, no, now you're mugging us off, and I'm kind of sat there with my arms up in the air, really confused as to what life is all about. So what I've generally been doing to look at the best prospects in other teams is searching by contract, reversing salary, then looking at general. It's not the most effective way, but it's kind of proven fairly useful just as a starting point to kind of analyse players that I could potentially get in. Obviously, it's a little bit ambitious to be expecting them to potentially let players go who I kind of I'm looking at here, but at the same time, I'm not unhappy with what I've done so far in the market in terms of getting that centre defensive man in Fowler, or second defensive man in Fowler. The centre position is a position that people have been suggesting that I do more with, but as of yet, it's a position that I can't find a player who I kind of feel is really going to add something to the team, potentially in the first line, which is what a lot of people suggested and I needed to find. I've been leaning towards looking at a lot more younger players and kind of seeing what they have to offer. But at the same time, what I'm encountering more and more is that I'm being extremely ambitious with what I want, and a lot of the players with real potential who I want, obviously they're franchises that they're contracted to, do not want to lose them, or not. Well, are they contracted to the franchise? Because I've not done that much research into the contracts of the NHL, but I assume it's like MLS where the league own the contracts, and like most US sports. I feel like all these offers are really, really crap. I don't know what I'm expecting in return, if I'm honest. I mean, should I just be looking for depth? If you see me looking through these deals and I reject one, please let me know which I should have taken. I mean, this isn't a bad one, actually. I've seen this offer come up a few times from the Predators, but they've given me Boku, who's 24 years old. Looks okay, but I've not scouted him. Let's scout him. And then they've also offered Austin Watson, who looks okay, I guess, in return. Like, maybe that isn't the worst offer in the world. I kind of feel like we're getting a little bit more depth, I guess, with those two players. Boku looks like a fairly good defensive kind of winger, which could be useful in the third line, potentially. Good work rate, good acceleration, good speed, but he's also got some good checking. Hitting is okay for a more offensive player, but he is very weak going forward, and his poke checking and positioning are not too great, but that might be a maybe. As you can see here, New Jersey Devils have offered me Helgson and also Peter Harold, so that's not too bad. But again, the Devils, I've been looking through their roster because they've offered for a few players and they've been pretty crap. So the Flyers want to give me their 5th round pick and Zach Ronaldo. It's not quite Ronaldo, is it? But again, he's a centre with really good hitting. I mean, should I be looking at this as a potential option? Is this the kind of player who I'm right to assume would be a good third-line player, even though he's not got great physicals? You know, you stick him on for 20 minutes and he's going to look to see out a game. I mean, maybe that's what he is. He looks quite aggressive in the face. So maybe that's the answer. If we look at this offer, I have been sneakily trying to get better picks from the opposition. I mean, would a 2nd round pick and Ronaldo be a good trade for Liverpool? Because Liverpool's on a very hefty salary and he's 31. And as a lot of guys suggested, whilst I've been told that the board expect the playoffs, that's very ambitious. And in reality, I'd be better looking towards the future and maybe even next year to see what free agents become available. I mean, maybe that's the way to go. Grant Clipsum here he looks happy, but is he going to make me happy? Again, he's a player who looks like he might be okay as a third line in my defence, but I don't know if that's the kind of trade that I should be looking at here, particularly seeing as we're offering out, of course, a winger, and to get a few fringe players from the Ice Caps feels like I'm being mugged off just a little bit. Anyway, I can't remember if I said at the start of this episode or not that I was going to do the first game of the season against the Habs, but I'm not going to do that now because I've now been rambling for 15 minutes showing you guys the process by which I've been looking at our team. But I'll tell you what we'll do just because we're here now. I'm going to clear the roster and then ask my head coach to pick a roster and all lines, and we're going to have a look at this line. And why have we not got a first defensive pair? Sort that out. Sort that out right now. What has happened here? Who's missing? Why has this happened? Answers, please. If we move you guys up. Can I just say that this page here, coming from Football Manager, is one of the most clunky pages I've ever used for interface. That's not to say that it's unworkable and it will never be good enough, but it needs a little bit of work. But I'm getting to grips with it. Maybe it's the learning curve of it all, but yeah. Why have you just left it like this? Why has he done this? Why does he hate me? Why? Answers, please. I've said answers on a postcard far too many times this series. I'm sorry. I only have the one catchphrase. Right. We need left defenders. Can we just stick Brewer on everything? I mean, is that what I should do? I don't know. I'm just sat here in cluelessness now. I would like to actually stress, I know this is probably the most frustrating process ever for someone new to it. Maybe you're intrigued by the steps that I've taken to actually try and find players. If I'm doing anything glaringly obvious that I shouldn't be, let me know. But yeah, I need to know why this has happened, because I'm still getting to kind of grips with the team, learning more about the sport, and so it's kind of proving challenging, I guess you could say, because I am very much learning as I go. Right, I have no idea why Fowler didn't get picked in those lines. It's probably the most obvious reason ever, and someone's now watched me correct all this, and I'm going to have to undo all this work. But yeah, so looking at our team, our captain is Dion Phaneuf. People gave me a million and different ways I should try and say his name. He's our captain, but as I mentioned, I might try and get him out. If you've got any suggested players where I could look for, really I'm looking for someone who's going to improve my defensive line, not be as big of a hit on the salary as Dion is, but also potentially just slotting into the first line and be quite an enforcer on the ice. It's not that much to ask for, is it? It definitely is. I did have the general team options explained to me, so thank you for you guys who did that. Forward usage is to do with which lines you use and how often they're played. So equal means that everyone gets the same amount of time on the ice regardless of their line. Overload means that you primarily play your first and second line as much as possible, but that can get them more tired. Just free means we only use the first free forward line, so if you were chasing a lead and you wanted to ensure your strongest players were always on the ice, that's an option. And just two is just the first two lines. So thank you to the guys who suggested and answered that, and it's pretty much the same for the defensive play. And then line matching, someone else explained this. Again, thank you. Line matching is to do with if the opposition have their first line out, we try and get our first line of forwards out. Basically, you try and match them strength for strength, but you have the option, for example, of we'll play our first line if they're playing their third line kind of thing, so you try and exploit weaknesses perhaps in their lack of depth. So I do appreciate that. You guys were a massive help on the last video. Anyway, I'm going to wrap things up here, I think, but before we go, we'll just have one little look at how our first team is lining up. So Castle, in fact, let's go to, what's going to be the best way to do this? If I click here, does this work? Oh, okay, that only allows us to give instructions. Well, that's no use to me. Oh, okay, I can click them down the left. Right, well, let's get started. This is painful, isn't it? We have Cam Fowler, defensive man. came in. He's our best player in the defence according to my team reports now, so that's good. I feel like I've got a good trade here, but you guys can agree. Maybe rate this trade out of 10 if you want to in the comments. We also have Phaneuf, who is just... I liked him after the first episode, and everyone was like, you should not like him. So, you're on too much money, Dion. Far too much. Anyway, next player is Reimsdyk. Or Reimsdyk, as I believe I was told to pronounce it. He looks okay. He's young in hockey terms, I guess. I mean, he's 25 young in hockey terms, it seems it. But he looks okay. I don't know if he's got that much potential about him. I guess after the next game, where we get the scout report, we'll know all the info that we need to know. We have Bozak, the centre, the Canadian, who actually looks okay. He's not incredible, and I'd probably like to improve on him if I could. Those mentals aren't great, and his kind of physicals aren't anything to write home about. But I think he'll do a job for this first year at least. And then we also have Phil Kessel here. So, yeah, all in all, we have a good first line. Our second line is Eriksson. I guess that's Eriksson. It's just spelt in an incredibly elite way with an X. He looks okay. He's not massive strength in depth, but he's only 23, so some time there. We also have, if we look, Gardiner, who is 24. He's our third best defenseman, and he's young, which is kind of nice. I mean, there is an option, I guess, to play this guy ahead of Phaneuf if I really wanted to, but he does lack that bravery and aggression, and as I mentioned, I kind of feel like having Fowler, who's a bit more creative on the puck, and then Phaneuf, who's a bit of a brute on the ice, good hitting and stuff, is probably going to benefit me more. We do have Lupul, who you guys have seen I have been offering out, seeing if I can get any good offers for him. We don't really need to free up cap space by letting him go, so I could just keep him in the second line. Some of you guys suggested he might be injury prone as he is in real life, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the scout report and maybe add more off that. Of course, I did go through some trade offers for him earlier, so if you saw them and there was anything glaringly good that I should have taken and didn't, then tell me now, or forever hold your peace. Anyway, next player we have is Nazem Kadri, who a few of you guys said I believe that he may even be starting as first choice centre at the moment for the Leafs in real life. He looks quite good, the 24-year-old. His contract is running low, and that's just actually reminded me, I did get Bernier to sign an extra year deal on his contract, which is good news. And then we have Komarov. I can only assume, I was about to say I can only assume he's Russian. How racist of you, Jack. He's European. It was kind of close. If we look at information, he can speak Russian too. I'm not that stereotypical, really. But he looks quite good, actually. A bit of an enforcer, maybe. The kind of player who's just going to defend well. Maybe he'd be a better player to put in the third line, because his shooting's not that great. And if I'm going to focus on a defensive third line, then he would probably suit that a lot more. Why have I just put Fowler there? That's not what I wanted to do. I want Komarov. Right, fixed. Okay, right, so I'm going to confirm that. Next episode we will start our campaign. If you got any feedback on the series so far, the format, what I should do differently, maybe I should ramble less and go into less detail about kind of my learning experience and just focus more on the game. I appreciate I'm kind of catering for people who are die-hard NHL fans, but also potentially players just getting into hockey and the sport and the league as a whole, and it's a tricky balance to do. One final thing I will just talk about is something that I've had a little bit of kind of I don't want to say struggle to understand, but if someone could clarify for me. So I'm aware that wavering is essentially giving up a player and saying to the league, if anyone wants his contract, they can take him, or at least that's my understanding of it. However, when it comes to placing players on the block and stuff, I've seen that come up in my news items a few times. That's just completely alien to me. So if you would like to explain that terminology and anything else I might need to know about contracts as a whole. I mentioned a little bit earlier about how I assume it works like MLS, where contracts are owned by the league, not the teams, which I can only assume is the case because that's how most American sports operate. Let me know. If you've got any useful videos or resources or websites you use for hockey news, or you can learn to use the basics, if you want to suggest them in the comments, I would appreciate that, because I've only been really, I guess, playing this game for 4 days and watching hockey for 4 days. I'm really getting into it, but I'm trying to learn as much as I can and pick up as much as I can. And next episode we're going to be doing our first ever live comm of a game, and you guys are going to witness firsthand right there, I feel, where I come unstuck, where I'm talking and trying to commentate on what's happening in the game, and most likely just using a load of soccer or football terms. But anyway, this episode is it is 25 minutes now, so I do appreciate you guys who have watched to the end. As I said on the first episode, thank you for your support. As I said at the start, thank you for your support. If this is the first video you're watching on my channel, hit the subscribe button. If you're at this point, smash the like button. Let me know that you got to the end in the comments. Just write "Go Leafs," even if it goes against all your team's own beliefs. And I'm a poet, and I didn't know it. Let's just end there. Thank you for watching, guys. It is me, Jack. Hopefully I'll see you guys on the next one, which will be coming up, hopefully, touch wood, later this evening.